Welcome to our Management Information System class of today. Yesterday we looked at Management Information System as a field discipline and we tried to understand the key topics contained in that course. Before we dive deep into today's lecture, let us do a recap of our last lecture. So in our last session, we made a distinction between information technology and information system. And then we also understood that management, organization, and technology are inevitably intertwined triple if senior managers and business owners want to leverage upon the power of information systems to make proper decisions and to make business gains. The question is, how should we use a framework to explain this? We are going to use a framework, but before we do that, let us try to find the crisp difference between information technology and information system. And let's just use a very simple analogy. The computer. The computer, as we know, consists of hardware and software. The hardware is the physical component of the computer. The hardware is just a piece of plastic, glass, and wires that are molded together. The hardware on its own is unintelligent. The software, like you know, is a set of instructions that tells the hardware to perform specific tasks, which means without the software, the hardware will remain unintelligent. And we distinguish two types of software, the system software and the application software. The system software, we said, are softwares that are hard programmed to the physical component, to the hardware. They give the hardware the functionality of yes and no, switch on and switch off. While the application software are softwares which you use every day to solve problems, to perform specific tasks. Now, a collection of these infrastructure, the hardware, the software, even the network, makes up information technology. But we want to find the clear-cut difference between information technology and information system, and we said that information technology is about the infrastructure. Now, when you put this infrastructure together, for example, the hardware and the software, when you put them together to function, they generate an output. And that output is what? Data. Now, data at this stage comes in its raw form. If you remember what we said in the knowledge pyramid, data is processed into information. In other words, information and data are two different entities, right? Now, to leverage upon the power of data, there needs to be a transformational process that transforms data into information. Now, this transformational process consists of skill sets. Data scientists like you, business intelligence experts like you, they come together and they use the computer and the software, which means the information technology and other processes, to leverage upon the power of data to get information. In other words, information technology relates to the whole IT infrastructure, the hardware and the software, while information system leverages upon the transformational process of data into information. Is that clear to you, class? Now, we want to explain how business managers leverages upon organization, management, and technology to make key decisions. And that brings us to the dimension of management information system. And as you can see on your screen, this framework consists of these three elements. Again, organization, management, and technology. So let's look at the framework. If you look from the left, you would see the organization and hierarchy. What does that mean? It means that every organization is structured into different levels of authority. Those levels consist of people, roles who perform specific problems, who perform specific tasks, and solve specific problems in the organization. Those roles take responsibility of those problems which they are solving, those tasks which they are performing. They are arranged in hierarchy in every organization. For example, at the floor level, you have the operational managers. The operational managers are the workers at the floor level that are in charge, that performs the day-to-day activity of the organization. Is that clear to you, class? For example, if you go to a supermarket to buy a product and you pick up a product from the counter, from the shelf, and you go to the counter, you have the cashier at the counter that scans that product through the POS system. Is that clear? Now, that cashier is an operational manager because she records the day-to-day routine business activity of the organization. Let's still use the analogy of the supermarket. Now, when you go to the headquarters of the supermarket, you will find the middle manager. What does the middle manager do? The middle manager simply collects data from the operational manager, which enables him to refill the shelf at every branch of the supermarket. Is that clear to you, class? That's what the middle manager does. Okay? Now, to be able to make that decision, the middle manager needs to take permission, approval from the senior manager. So he approves the activities of the middle manager. And right at the top, you have the executive. The executive plans the budget, strategizes, and allocates resources. So when you look at this organization, you will see a hierarchy of the workers in the organization, ranging from operational managers to the executive. Let's go to the right-hand side. You will see the different kind of decision performed by these workers, all right? And those decisions ranges from structured decision. What is structured decision? Now, we said that the operational manager simply records the day-to-day activity of the organization. Now, when you visit the supermarket, she simply scans the product, which means when you observe her, she does the same thing every day. There is no change. She doesn't need any form of judgment, no evaluation. She keeps on doing the first thing every day. Is that correct, class? So, which means she's performing a structured decision. She doesn't need to think. Scan and scan and scan. That's what she does, right? Now, what kind of decision does the middle manager do? The middle manager does a blend of semi-structured decision and structured decision. Why? Well, because he collects data from the operational manager. And those data are structured. He needs to look at them, analyze the data to be able to make proper decision. And at the same time, he needs to use his judgment, his evaluation and his judgment to make further decision. So the decision which the middle manager makes is a combination of semi-structured decision and structured decision. Is that clear to you, class?
Yes.
And now we have the senior manager. So what kind of decision does he make? Well, he makes only unstructured decision. Why does he do unstructured decision? Because he needs to think, he needs to analyze, he needs to evaluate, and he needs to use his experience to make decision. So the senior managers only makes unstructured decision. The executive who is constantly strategizing is always making dynamic decisions. His decisions are so fluid, it changes all the time. So he makes unstructured decision. The question now is, what is the connection of technology in this framework? The link is, at every level, they use a specific kind of information system. For example, the operational manager uses what is known as transactional processing system, TPS, to make structured decisions. What is transactional processing system? Transactional processing system, an example is your POS. The POS is an example of TPS. If you go to the airport to drop your baggage at the counter, okay? The scale, the weighing machine, which gives the weight of your luggage, is a TPS system. So any system which the operational worker uses to record the routine activity of the organization is known as the TPS. Let's look at the second layer of this framework. The middle manager uses MIS system to make semi-structured and structured decision. For example, he uses his SAP ERP system to collect data generated by the TPS, by the operational manager, to make decision. And right on top of it, you have the decision support system, DSS system. So the senior manager uses DSS system to make unstructured decision, while executive uses executive information system to make unstructured decision. So let's do a review of what we studied in our last lecture. So we understood, and today we are positing again, that information technology is different from information system. And also today we see that information system involves the processing of data into information using information technology. Is that clear with you, class? Any question, class? All right. Thank you so much for listening. We are now going to proceed to today's lecture. Thank you.